Joining me now is Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, one of the CDC officials who resigned in protest earlier this week. Doctor,
this was fucking horrific. Mr. Brainworm, RFK Jr., is leading United States Health. And, yes, this is the world currently. And it's a fucking disgrace. You know, firing vaccine experts, medical experts in general. 4 of them resigned. I think one of them quit. One of them's this guy. This is after Trump approved Operation Warp Speed and the rollout of the COVID vaccine, which he endorsed at rallies and even got booed for. And yet these anti-vax retards like Alex Jones and whoever the fuck else have done significant harm.
Dr. Daskalakis, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we appreciate having your perspective today, and you were at the CDC for years. So this undoubtedly was an incredibly difficult decision for you to make. What made you want to ultimately resign?
Yeah, so I was at CDC for about 5 years and in governmental public health for over 10. And my guiding principles are that I'm a physician. And as a physician, I take the Hippocratic Oath. And that oath is to first do no harm. And in the recent history at CDC, have seen it slowly being transformed into a weaponized organization that is being designed really to achieve ideological goals rather than to deliver important public health messaging and services to support the health of people in America and frankly, the globe. When I feel that I'm going to do harm, I have to make good on my oath, the thing that I did when I graduated from medical school and the time had come. That, along with the fact that it seemed as if there was no way to have scientific leadership at CDC be maintained if Susan Menarez wasn't there anymore. That really meant for me that there was no way to really maintain the firewall between ideology and science. And so I think now it's inevitable that science.
And they had, a measles outbreak that was the biggest in like 20 years or so. Killed 3 children. I mean...
Oh, because I can't make, as the brainworm is making me do it. It's the brainworm. I think it was from the vaccine, not all the raw milk and raw chicken eggs I consume on a daily basis. My father and uncle would be so ashamed of me.
Will be contaminated by ideology unless people take our wake-up call here, our red flag, to really try to make a change now.
You said in your resignation letter, and
The vaccine is causing the autism. That's what the brainworm tells me. It controls me every day. Please help.
Read just a little bit of it. That HHS policies do not reflect scientific reality, echoing what you've just said here. But my question for you, why not?
I'm not anti-vax. I'm just looking out for children's health. The measles outbreak was really autism.
Stay and fight. If you think this void with Susan Menarez could be so devastating to the public's health, why not stay and fight for public health?
Trust me, if I thought that there was a fight that I could fight in there, I would have stayed. And the reality is that there is now an irresistible force that is going to make it impossible for CDC to maintain the validity of its science against ideology, especially in the vaccine space, given what I'm seeing from HHS leadership. I stayed there during some really complicated times under the current secretary. I managed to sort of toe the line and make sure that we were able to end a measles outbreak in the US, the largest in the history since elimination, by really towing the line and making sure vaccines were first, but that we really created communication and strategies that also aligned to his vision. The list, we received.
My vision is severing whale heads and swimming in polluted rivers because it boosts the immune system, just like my dad and uncle taught me. Oh, wait, no, they didn't.
A directive about changing COVID-19 vaccine for children and for pregnant women. And we were able to do that in a way that maintained access. I don't see a way out. If there are documents that make someone on the ACIP who doesn't really demonstrate any experience or belief in science, as far as I can see, makes them my boss and is the person who can direct the staff over and above the director of the CDC, and whose job it is to prevent CDC bias from entering the work group that will make very important recommendations to the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices when that bias does not exist. What that means, rather than prevent CDC bias, is allow.
I only want my bias. I renounced my family and the Democrats because I sold out for the anti-vax dollar. That's the deep state that I want because I'm too stupid to comprehend my brainweb.
Their bias to influence the science, and there's no way out when it is in fact codified in policy.
So just the bottom line here, do you believe the public will be able to trust the information coming out of the CDC moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that the answer is yes, but I don't think that it's going to be possible, especially in the vaccine space. I think that there has already been some attacks that are making me.
Where's the 10 million dead bodies from the vaccine? Did Alex Jones ever explain that? Where are the 20 million, 50 million dead bodies littered around the US from the vaccine? No? Oh, okay.
Very concerned. Of course, there's some physical attacks that we can talk about that were related to vaccine mis and disinformation. But I think that there are also attacks around things that have
It's all information.
already been litigated that will really, I think, erode trust in vaccines, really interventions that have prevented millions of diseases that have allowed us to have healthy children. And so I do think.
Except for my voice. That's one thing the vaccines can't help. So we have to get rid of them.
That's not the source that you should go to right now. You should cross-check it with your clinician. Talk to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist, see how they're interacting with their professional organizations. Ask them, what do you think about the Pediatric Association's guidelines around COVID vaccines and maybe other vaccines? I think it's really time to take this with a grain of salt, because I think that the data that's going to be used to make these decisions is going to be compromised, because there's no way that it is going to be protected from ideology.
Just to boil down what you're saying.
Unless we make a change, unless there's a change.
Well, and to boil down what you're saying, Secretary Kennedy has long pushed the disputed claim that there's a link between vaccines for children and autism. This has been debunked by the science for the past more than 2 decades now. Is that the crux of your concern? And is that the crux of the argument with Susan Menarez, that there's going to be an attempt to push that type of policy forward, an ideology forward?
I mean, let's make a list. The secretary went on a video and said that that mRNA vaccines didn't do anything in the pandemic, and they're the most dangerous vaccines known to humanity. That's wrong. That's untrue. The vaccines for COVID helped end the pandemic, and their safety track record is strong. There are safety issues. Yes, people do have adverse events. There's no such thing as a zero risk vaccine, nor is there such a thing as 100% effective vaccine. So that's number one. We can also talk about the fact that, there is, I think that we have signals that there's going to be retrofitting of data or analyses of data that really aren't based in any good scientific methods, that are going to come to a conclusion that something is causing autism as well as other other diseases related to vaccines. I think alum is going to be pointed at. That is another part of a vaccine that makes sure that it causes the immune system to react appropriately to protect people from the pathogen that they're being vaccinated against. They're going to have a story about alum. They already had a story about thimerosal that led to the removal of thimerosal from the 4% of influenza vaccines that had it. That's not a very big win. Based on science that is really debunked, the FDA website right now has a website that is very clear showing that thimerosal, that preservative, does not have any adverse events associated with it, especially in the space of autism and other neurocognitive issues. Nevertheless, because there's a half truth somewhere in there that maybe it's great to prevent having people being exposed to anything extra that they don't need, we get to the place where a hunch is enough to remove a vaccine from the market. That is not a good precedent.
Let me ask you about comments that you recently made in which you said that Secretary Kennedy has never been briefed by your group on COVID, measles, other viruses. Can you explain that? Did you reach out to Secretary Kennedy? Were briefings offered to him? Did he refuse them? What exactly does it mean that Secretary Kennedy was never briefed? What did that look like?
Yeah, I'll start by saying I've never met Secretary Kennedy. I wasn't there when he visited CDC after the attack, the gun attack on CDC, through his staff, some of which have been fired, others who are still there. Every time I met with them in any space, I said, we would love to brief the secretary, especially on topics that are important and are higher profile and important to the health of America. I thought that it was great to offer a briefing on measles. That was not something that we were ever allowed to do. I offered briefings on H5N1, on bird flu. That was not taken up. I said, we're happy to talk about vaccines in general. And that was through some of the folks that work in his office of the secretary. I offered those at senior leader meetings at CDC. There were many people present. You can ask Dr. Howery, you can ask Dr. Jernigan, and it was crickets. We heard nothing back. So he has never been briefed by any of the CDC experts on any of these diseases, specifically vaccine preventable diseases, which seem to be a pretty significant piece of his agenda.
What do you think are the implications of Secretary Kennedy never having been briefed on a range of different diseases that could be prevented by vaccines?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the question...
What an absolute shit show. What a fucking disgrace.
The question that everyone should be asking is, if you're not being briefed by your experts, who's briefing you? Where are you getting your information? I think I gave the example of what we heard about mRNA vaccines from the secretary, that they didn't help anything in the pandemic and that they were the most dangerous vaccine known to humanity. But we also had the secretary saying that the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine caused more harm than it does good. We also heard that from him that it doesn't last long enough, or it has that there's waning immunity, and that's contrary to anything that our experts would say to him. So I don't know where he's getting that information. If I were still there, I would offer in the same spirit. I would love to give him the opportunity to hear from the people who are the world experts. Every country in the world calls us to learn about measles, to learn about COVID, to learn about these vaccine preventable diseases. We are the leaders in the world.
And this fucking thing going on where, like Trump has seized on this thing where, being intellectual, being educated, that's just namby-pamby liberals, just, fuck those people, and they're so-called science. I mean, just what a fucking retard.
It's strange that our own secretary won't listen to our experts and says it very clearly. Don't believe the experts.
Well, let me ask you, as we look forward, the president has tapped
But what about the Wuhan lab leak and Dr. Fauci? That must be the vaccines are poison.
HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill to be the acting CDC director.
Oh man, trying to speak like that fucking retard is, doing my throat in. Jesus.
What do you make of that decision, that choice?
You know, just as I did with the secretary, you know, I always give people, you know, really the benefit of the doubt and a chance. And I'll just put us in a time machine. When the secretary started, he gave an address to HHS saying that
You have more patience than I ever could, buddy, because I'd want to fucking jump out of a window just listening to that twat speak for 5 seconds.
he was coming in with no preconceived notions and wanted us to approach him in the same way. And I did that, trying to sort of meld our science with what his vision is. And I'll say the same with Jim O'Neill. I don't know him. I'm not familiar with his resume. I understand that he is not a scientist, but has some experience in governmental public health at HHS. So I hope that he in those experiences understands the importance of engaging with scientists and really supporting the science so that America's health can be optimized, so that people know what to do with the best science so they don't get sick from any of these infections. And though I talk about infectious diseases, CDC does a lot more. Like, you know, follow the science on how to prevent overdose, follow the science on how to prevent injury, follow the science on how to prevent chronic diseases. And so
this isn't just vaccines. This is a whole range of health issues. And
hope is that someone who's a leader of large organizations, which he has been, will understand that the best thing to do is listen to your experts. If I became the CEO of a hedge fund, I would definitely want his advice.
Very quickly, before I let you go, Senator Bill Cassidy, who is a doctor, expressed real concern over the firing of Susan Menares. And he said, quote, "I'm committed to the president's vision, which is why the HELP Committee will conduct oversight." Do you have confidence that Congress can conduct effective oversight over the decision to fire Susan Menares?
So I'm an American, and I believe in the power of our system. I believe in the power of the people that we elect. I believe in their vision, and I believe in their ability to make a change. So I'm here with no job, raising a red flag in the hope that those red flags really inspire the right action from our elected officials. So you know, again, just like I walked in optimistic with the secretary, and I'm optimistic with the acting director of CDC, I'm going to be optimistic as well that these folks will do the right thing and make sure that they protect the health of America rather than focusing on ideologies or other agendas.
All right, Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your perspective.
what a fucking sad state of affairs. I'd be surprised if the US is around in 3 years from now, the way it's going. Professor Dave is an excellent content creator. And I highly recommend, you know, any Americans to watch this video because
hey everyone, as you know, I
it
debunk
really
charlatans.
shows how stupid this fucking clown is. RFK Jr. This is the guy, a former smackhead with a now fucking brainworm, is leading HHS. It's like getting a fucking flat earther in at NASA.
And sporting decades of drug use. Let's dive into this disgusting freak show. First up, the brainworm. Yes, you heard that right. In 2012, RFK revealed that a parasitic worm ate part of his brain, causing memory loss and cognitive fog. He spilled this in a 2024 deposition, and the New York Times ran with it, quoting doctors who said it was likely a pork tapeworm cyst, which can cause lasting damage. This is the guy running HHS, folks, preaching about brain health while harboring brain parasites. Next, the whalehead fiasco. In 1994, Bobby illegally transported a dead whale's skull across state lines.
Because it's very profitable. Come on.
Violating the Marine Mammal Protection Act. His daughter, Kathleen, age 6 at the time, described him
quality father-daughter bonding time.
Chainsawing the head off a beached whale like some eco serial killer. He then proceeded
Oh,
to tie
God.
it to his vehicle to transport it home on a 5-hour drive. She stated, "Every time we accelerated on the highway, whale juice would pour into the windows of the car, and it was the rankest thing on the planet."
But it's great for the immune system, honey. We're going to Canada. We're driving for the weekend. It'll help our immune system. Oh, this whale juice.
Planet. We all had plastic bags over our heads with mouth holes cut out, and people on the highway were giving us the finger, but that was just normal day-to-day stuff for us. This is the same guy who built his career as an environmental lawyer, saving rivers and suing polluters.
Those days are long gone.
He's posing as a green hero while smuggling whale bones. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration investigated, but no charges stuck. Quite the lucky break for Captain Ahab. It's clear that he doesn't see any consequences from
Eating raw meat and handling whale carcasses. So cool.
consuming undercooked meat or handling decomposing carcasses while with his family. Oh, you want more in the way
Just trying to talk like this fucking clown is going to give me throat cancer. Oh, God.
of actual live animal abuse? According to his cousin Caroline, he used to put baby chickens and mice in a blender. This
Because that's how the good diets were back in the 1820s. That's when we didn't have all these crazy autism effects like we have today.
was done to feed his hawks, which made sense to her since she says he himself is a predator. Here's another doozy. He took his grandchildren on a quaint little swimming excursion in the sewage-contaminated Rock Creek in Washington, D.C. on Mother's Day 2025. The National Park Service advises against swimming there due to high bacterial levels detected. But that doesn't stop Bobby from risking his own health or the health of his young grandchildren.
Jump in, kids. It's highly nutritious and great for the pores. Yeah.
What a stand-up guy. Oh yeah, and there's the time he was caught going to the bathroom on an airplane completely barefoot. Nothing screams
Just like a high roller does.
good health and hygiene like barefoot bathroom usage. Then there's the drug use. Bobby admitted to 14 years of heroin addiction from 1969 to 1983.
I mean, jeez, man. Like, what more can you say?